You know, people. There was a streak there where people would call me and say, "Chael just said this." It's not true.
So Silva's okay on that.
Oh, he's easy, guy. He's easy. Very easy. Very easy. Huh? You know, I always say this, and it's the truth. It's the only way that I can really explain it. You know, I don't dislike. I love dealing with Anderson Silva. He's a great guy. He's an amazing champion. It's like dealing with an artist. That's literally what it's like. You know, artists are quirky and they have their, you know. Yeah.
Dana, what did you think of Mark Munoz's whole situation over the past year or so? Did you know how bad things had gotten while it was happening?
I did not. No, I didn't know that.
What did you think when you
guys know more shit than I know half the time? You know, the type of guys who fight in this sport, they're good people, they're mentally tough people, they're emotionally tough people. You know, it doesn't surprise me. These guys overcome tons of shit all the time. It's what makes them and these type of athletes so special, you know?
Dana, have you had any interactions with Chris Lieben this week?
No.
What kind of situation is he in? He looked like a guy who didn't really necessarily want to fight in his last one. Are you going to be kind of watching him closely?
Well, I wouldn't say he looked like a guy that necessarily didn't want to fight. He looked like a guy who hadn't fought in a long time. You know what I mean? And when you listen, Lieben is a fucking warhorse, okay? This guy comes in and he's going to either kill or be killed. He's looking to knock you out or get knocked out. That's just his style. And as you get older and as you take time off, it's not like you're going to see Lieben come out with incredible hand speed and unbelievable head movement and side to side lateral. He's going to come out, you know, that's the way he fights. And he's gone through some hard times. You know, he's a guy who's overcome a ton of adversity since before the Ultimate Fighter, through the Ultimate Fighter, and all throughout his career and his life. Every time Chris Lieben shows up and he's healthy and he's doing the right thing, you know, I'm happy. Because I like Chris Lieben very much.
He seems like a guy that you would never cut, but if he comes out and looks sluggish and being up for a second time, did you have a conversation with him?
Well, you know, I don't know. Let's see what happens on Saturday. And, you know, he's a kid that no matter what he's doing, I want to keep him motivated and make it so that every day when he gets out of bed, he's a part of society and has to have something to achieve or some goals to, you know what I mean? I always want that there for him. So, but when I don't even want to talk about cutting Chris Lieben.
As a business,
well, yeah, I mean,
could you see goodness in losing?
As a businessman, as a fight fan, it's awesome to have a guy who's as dominant as Anderson Silva. You know, like the Mike Tyson of our sport right now. It's like, you know, so many people believe, you know, you heard some of these fighters saying stuff, but a lot of the media are like, Anderson Silva wins this fight easy. Anderson, and that's what it reminds me. It reminds me of the Tyson era. And I'll never forget it as long as I live. I mean, the night that he was fighting Buster Douglas, you know, I had so many buddies who were, you know, fringe boxing fans and big fights around whatever. And everybody was going out that night. And I'm like, yeah, I'm watching the Buster Douglas fight. Yeah, they're like, yeah, that fight's going to be 6 minutes, so meet us, you know, you meet us after. And I sat home and watched in horror as the thing unfolded, right? And, you know, I think that's how it is with Anderson Silva now. Some people believe, but this fight here, this is actually a fight where the odds are lower than they've ever been, or at least in a long time. And a lot of people believe Weidman can do it. Weidman has the size and the style matchup to beat Anderson Silva.
So you're not in the thought that a rematch, if he loses, would even be bigger. You're beyond that, needing that, but you understand what people say.
If Chris Weidman wins this fight, a rematch will be huge. Huge.
Can you talk about what Vitor Belfort fits in this situation? The first time ever, I think he's actually stepping up and saying, I deserve this, I want this, you know, it's not just whatever the UFC gives. But it sounds like you got the plans. It's either a rematch if Weidman wins or a super fight if Anderson wins. So where does Vitor fit in that whole situation? Because he has looked good other than the loss.
He's looked great. The hard position that Vitor's in is, when you talk about a rematch for him, it's like, he went out and kicked him in the face in the first 60 seconds in one of the most devastating knockouts of all time, you know? So when you go back to Anderson Silva, who's in the twilight of his career, and you say to a guy like Anderson, hey, what about Vitor? I annihilated Vitor. I made it look like Vitor wasn't even a fighter, we shouldn't have been fighting, or whatever the thing goes. I got other fights, I want to fight other people, and you talk about his legacy and his this and his that. You know, those are tough fights to make.
Vitor's best shot is for Weidman to win and win a rematch as well, and then maybe he can get Weidman.
And I'm not saying that that's the case.
Right.
I'm not saying that Vitor couldn't get the next shot or couldn't get a shot soon. But if you're Anderson Silva, you're like, I'm looking for another challenge. You know, I want to fight GSP. I want to fight John Jones, or somebody different than Vitor. It'd be a hard argument. Listen, if they had it, you'd make a better argument that Dan Henderson should get the next shot. You know what I mean? Yeah, he hasn't looked impressively and he hasn't won, but it wasn't. He didn't beat him as bad as he did beat him.
I know Frankie lost 3 fights. Why Oliveira at this point? Why do you think that's the match that needs to be made?
It's at 145 pounds, and he's one of the best guys in the 145-pound division. Why not?
Okay, what do you think he brings, Oliveira?
Oliveira's been unbelievable. He's got unbelievable jiu-jitsu, and he's become more and more of a well-rounded fighter. And if anything, if you're looking at why this fight for Frankie, the question is why this fight for Oliveira. Oliveira's on a roll. He's on his way up, and Frankie Edgar is the right fight for him at this time.
Pulling things down here.
This is where the fucking show is at.
Apparently he didn't know we were in Las Vegas this week.
Sorry,
It's 120 out. He's got a vest and a long sleeve shirt on. I bet you're moving slow.
It's Garrett. Garrett's got to look good. Can I ask that question again, Dave? Why do you think so many of the insiders to the fighters and the trainers picked Chris Weidman over Anderson Silva?
I think a lot of these guys have trained with Chris Weidman. They know the skill set he has. They know how tough he is. They know how big he is, how strong he is. And if you look at, you have to look at a fight stylistically. And just like we were talking right when we walked up here, the confidence. This kid doesn't think he's going to be Anderson Silva. He knows he's going to be there. And you take all that, combine it with the talent, the size, the this, the that, and it's hard to call him a 7-to-1 dog, 5-to-1 dog.
And on the other side of the scales, are we not looking at an athlete from Brazil who is very special, who will do so much when he eventually decides to?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things that people don't really think about or realize, but the day that comes when that man says, I'm going to retire, it's going to suck.
It's a big day for you now, isn't it?
It's literally like when Jordan won in basketball. They had, how many games do they have a year in basketball? Yeah, 80-something games, whatever the number is. And you took it for granted every night that Jordan played, right up until he left. You know what I mean? And I think that's going to be the case with Anderson Silva too.
I know New York right now, but why do you want to win this fight? How seriously would you consider a rematch in New Jersey?
Yeah, we really consider it. You can go to New Jersey, you can go to Brazil, rematch for that fight. You can do Vegas. That fight's big anywhere.
How jacked up are you for this matchup compared to other big fights that you've had? I mean, how much is really riding on this?
Well, it's everything this week. I'm excited for this whole week. The expo. I walked through the expo last night. It's awesome. And I love when so many fight. I mean, there's fight fans in town this weekend that won't even be going to the fight live. They'll watch it in closed circuit. And this whole week is all about this event in the UFC this weekend. So it's very exciting. And I am an admitted huge fan of Anderson Silva, and I always love to watch this guy fight, and even more so when he has somebody that can really challenge him.
What do you feel? Truthfully, what do you feel inside of you because of his 38 years? And do you think this is really the biggest chance that somebody has to take him out?
Well, yeah, it's one of the things that, again, like we were just saying, how we take it for granted that he's here and he fights and everything else. The other thing everybody takes for granted and doesn't really give enough credit for, he's 38 years old. 38 years old, and he's still doing things that other people cannot do. And and I think that's part of why the odds are so low. And the question becomes, even with the Floyd Mayweather Canelo fight, you know, at what point does a guy show up and look 38, or in Floyd's case, look 35 or 36, how old Floyd is? I mean, that's the big question. Especially when they're fighting these young guys, Canelo and Weidman.
This weekend.
Had some rumors in Brazil about Daniel Cormier fighting Christopher Verdum. You know something about it, like the fight that interests UFC?
Cormier versus Verdum. Verdum was in my office 2 days ago. That's probably where the rumor came from. That's who he wants to fight. But we'll see what happens. Verdum leaking stuff.
If this weekend turns out to be the night that Anderson Silva looks old, I don't think a lot of people are expecting that.
Right.
Do you have any regrets over one fight that you didn't make on? I mean, the super fights have been talked about for years, and obviously I think a lot of us understand why they haven't happened. Would that be a regret?
I won't have any regrets. I mean, I do everything I can to try to make the best fights possible. I was sitting around on my ass not trying to make the fight, and he lost. I said, shit, I never thought of this. I should have made that fucking John Jones fight, you know, or that GSP fight. I've been working hard to try to make those fights. You know, George St. Pierre would not even think about this fight because Anderson Silva's going to win, according to George St. Pierre.
Are there any fights in your promoter, your lifetime as a promoter, that you wish you would have been able to put together, that you wish you would have put together?
Now? No. But if you ask me this question 2 years from now, and one of those two fights haven't happened, yes, that would be my answer.
Thank you.
Has it become more difficult for the opposite to get a promoter, or easier to deal with as the years have gone by? And also, with the rematch clause, did you come up with that, or did they answer that?
Yeah, it's all the same. It's, you know, dealing with him is fine. I have no problems dealing with him. And then the rematch is a no-brainer. Should Anderson Silva lose his first fight ever in the UFC since 2006, you're damn right we're going to do the rematch.
So that'd be the case with
That's if he loses on Saturday night, you guys can go out Saturday night and print. The rematch will happen. I don't know what the date will be, but it's coming.
So will that be the case for all of his fights? For Anderson,
of course. If he loses his first fight ever in the UFC, yes, the next fight will be a rematch.
Dana, you have a loaded middleweight class. Could you ever see Mauricio Shogun Hua dropping down to middleweight, maybe a super fight with Anderson Silva if he in fact does get a win?
Never thought about that ever, not once in my whole life. Could it happen? Anything is possible, but
not to question George St. Pierre's motivation to drive or anything like that. You've talked and you've tried to make that fight for a long time, and now he's putting Weidman out there. I've seen a lot of fan reaction that he's kind of putting a hurdle there, a block there, like he's not the one motivated to make that fight. Do you sense that at all in negotiations that George isn't interested in having that fight?
There's no doubt about it. I mean, that's a fact. I mean, if that was the case, he'd say, fuck Weidman. I'll take that fight. I want that fight. I really think that Weidman's going to beat him. I don't want Weidman to have that fight. I want to be the guy to beat him.
Does that bug you a little bit that he doesn't want to make this fight, or do you understand where he's coming from?
At the end of the day, he weighs 170 pounds. He's 170 pounds. If he weighed 185 pounds and felt that way, I'd be real pissed.
Well, you get it.
But at 170 pounds, and any guy who's going to fight up in weight, it's like,
You can't force him to do it.
Listen, I'm the man here at 170. If I thought I was the man at 185, I'd be at 185. I get it. But it's a fight that a lot of fans want to see. It's a big fight. It's a legacy fight. And it's a fight for the pound-for-pound best in the world.
And that's why you mentioned the catchweight this past week, that would be maybe more ideal. Because in the past you said it needs to be at 170 or 185 for the belt to be on the line.
No. I didn't say that.
In the past you said it needed to be for a title. Yeah, you said.
No. What I said was, if George St. Pierre, he said if he made the move, he'd want to move to 185. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because he couldn't come back to 170 in the way that he trains and eats and whatever the deal is. And he couldn't do it. So that's why we talked about it. But it was always, for me, it was a pound-for-pound fight. Who's the pound-for-pound best in the world? Like a huge legacy fight. Who's the greatest of all time?
What about Anderson if it ended up being Anderson and John Jones?
That's what I'm saying.
Would that take place in
Anderson could fight wherever he wanted to. He wouldn't have to be at 205. It wouldn't have to be for a title.
It could be 198 or 200 or something.
Right. And they could both hold their titles, or Anderson could go for it. It's up to the fighter. If they want to go for the 205-pound title. Like George St. Pierre could do this catchweight fight, and he could still be a champ at 170. You know. But what's crazy to me is GSP opted to take a very dangerous fight at 170 without trying to take a dangerous fight at 185.
It's going to be a bigger money fight, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, I mean, definitely.
Silva and Misha have both been announced for UFC 168. Is that going to be the main event?
I don't know.
Have you seen Mayhem Miller basically attacking you on Twitter over the past days, weeks?
I have not.
I know you guys always have kind of a tense relationship. He's kind of up in the game a little bit.
Yeah.
I'm just curious if you haven't seen it, you may not have any thoughts.
I haven't
kind
seen
of aggressive it is.
I haven't seen it. All I can say is he was found naked in a church and was arrested for vandalizing. Need I say more? I didn't think so.
So East, in Winnipeg, when you were discussing Steve Martin, the lawyer situation, did you ever come back and speak to your lawyers about whether you could actually take a civil suit against the referee if you were happy with or continuing to go against the commission? Did you investigate it into it?
I did not.
Okay.
I did not. But, like I said before, the fighters have the right to go in with the commission and say, hey, listen, I want a different referee. They can do that. So the fighters have to be concerned. And after I talked about that, it was a very mixed bag on Mazzagatti, which fucking blew my mind. Blew me away. So if other people aren't concerned about it, maybe I shouldn't be either.
How much money has Scrum, if any, Silva done for GSP or Jones? I know he died and he's called you down.
Well, I didn't say he asked for Jones. I said he called and wants a super fight. Go back and look at that one. That's what I said.
But he didn't specify anything.
Did he specify?
He didn't specify.
Yeah, we talked. You know, I told the media. I did a luncheon earlier this week, and told them, these guys all get mad when I talk about what we talk about publicly to the media. You know, this is the way this company is. It's the way it's always been. It's the way it always will be while I'm here anyway. Whatever we talk about, I'll tell you guys. But some stuff, it's like, you know, and I know how Anderson is about it. But I can tell you this: Anderson Silva wants to fight a super fight either way. That way or that way.
Hi, I'm working from the UK. Are you happy with the way that the UFC is exposed over there and any plans to increase it?
Yeah, I've been working on that since 2002. It's a very important market to us. You know, so much important that we have an office in London and have since like 2003. And you know, we're just fighting the fight, man, over there and in every other country.
Is there an update on the live event there for the fall? It's been rumored for a long time now. Is that, I know there's new TV partners here this week and all that.
What's the rumor?
Manchester in November, I believe. I don't have the exact date.
It's a pretty good rumor.
Yeah. Manchester, November sounds about right.
Pretty good rumor.
Just waiting to get it all signed. I'll help you out there, kid.
Any fights in particular? Any fighters you love?
We still don't even have the deal done. We're still working on that. You know, it'd be good to bring Bisping back in Manchester. It's always fun.
I know that you've looked into the South African market and you've shown some interest there. Any chance of when you're going to have the Octagon in Cape Town in Johannesburg?
We're working there hard. Gary Cook, the guy who's running that territory for us, is while we have International Fight Week going on here, every guy that runs every office from all over the world is here in town this week, and they've been in meetings since Monday. And yeah, so we're working on it. The answer to that is yes. What did you say?
Well, like you guys just announced like more advances in 3 years. Have any fights in mind for
I don't. You know, obviously the Brazilian market has been amazing for us. It's you know, right there with the United States, the biggest market in the world, and we're doing tons of work there. We're going to do some really cool things there over the next several years.
Babalu retired. Who? Babalu?
Yeah.
What do you say when you think of Babalu?
You know, Babalu was a guy who was with us in the early days. I always liked Babalu. A good guy.
You know, he left kind of I mean, it's like he's just
no, I have no hard feelings. Nothing negative about Babalu. He's a great guy. You know, the negative thing was, you know, listen, it's the fight business, man. You know, it's in the nice business, the fight business, and we have some guys that are super cool and nothing bad ever happens, and we got guys that, you know, bad things happen sometimes and decisions need to be made. But I have no hard feelings against Bob Lou.
Dana, the George Zimmerman trial is going on now, and people get very nervous when they hear terms, MMA terms, thrown around the trial. You know about the trial, right? No. The trial in Florida with the young boy who was killed, Jacob Harden.
Yeah, for wearing his hood and the guy, yeah, okay.
So he used MMA. MMA terms are being used in the trials. Down and down.
He said he was grounded down. Like it was an MMA style fight with his shot.
So anyway, people get nervous when the MMA is brought up in that light on a mainstream level, in a negative light. You worried about that kind of stuff?
I didn't even know it was happening. That's how worried I am about it. I could give a shit. Let me tell you what, ground and pound, that shit's been going on since the day two men were put on earth. Somebody got on top and somebody was grounded and somebody was getting pounded, period. It's fighting. You know, it's not necessarily, it's an MMA term, but a guy on top of another guy punching him isn't about MMA. I mean, it's just, the world we live in, so much crazy shit. You know, one little thing happens and everybody goes crazy and wants to ban this and ban that. And, you know, I don't want to get too political here, but it's just like, you know, when a horrible thing happens with guns, everybody's like, let's get rid of guns, let's stop selling ammunition. And then you look at what happens in Boston. There were no guns involved in Boston. When people want to hurt other people, they'll figure out a way to do it. Whether they use guns, they do this, they use their hands or whatever. It's just, people like to label something and fucking attack something. It's the way society is today.
Dan, it's been said that the UFC is trying to get into Russia. You said anything's possible. How possible is it that you can get Fedor Emelianenko on The Ultimate Fighter?
That's not possible. Fedor is retired, and I don't want to talk about it right now because it's me and Lorenzo are going to Russia soon. No, that's how serious we are about Russia. We ain't going on vacation.
There's obviously two Karyn and Silva being compared to the greatest Brazilians of all time. And the comparison with Karyn is just incredible.
He deserves it.
How do you feel about being called the greatest promoter of all time, given what you've achieved already with the UFC? How do you feel about that when people start calling you that?
I think I'm going to stop making fun of the clothes you wear here in Las Vegas. That's how good I feel about it. I appreciate it. I think that I am too young and have not accomplished all the things that I want to accomplish to be called something like that yet. There have been a lot of great promoters in the day, from, you know, Don King, absolutely, P.T. Barnum, Vince McMahon, and many others. I'm honored to say that, and I got a lot of work to do.
You discussed the fighter pace, taking away the bonuses and possibly being able to give back to the lower tiered fighters. Would you consider taking them away altogether?
Well, it wasn't just the fight of the night bonuses, it was all bonuses.
So were you going to take them all away altogether?
There are a lot of bonuses that fly around this company, a lot of bonuses, and the reality is the bonuses that are given are bonuses that are deserved. Okay? So the ones that you hear crying about not making money, I'm going to get crazy on you. Right? We work in a business where we're as good as our last fight. Not just them, me too. The UFC, every time we do a fight, whether it's a pay-per-view, it's on TV or whatever, people make the decision to stay home on a Saturday night and not do anything else when there's movies, dinners, spending time with the family, doing this. There's a lot of shit to do on a Saturday night. These people make a decision to stay home on a Saturday night and watch our show. We get a show with a bunch of guys that want to push against the fucking fence and stand there for 15 fucking minutes and try to squeak out a win. How many people do you think are going to tune in next Saturday? And if this keeps continuing, you become fucking boxing, where guys are running around in circles, nobody fights, and you walk away going, this fight sucked, okay? The guys who are complaining about this are the guys that don't matter. Okay? Now, that might sound fucking mean and harsh and why would nobody matter? Everybody matters. We're in this fucking society now where everybody should win a trophy. No, everybody doesn't win a fucking trophy. Okay? The guys who stand out and the guys who deserve bonuses, the guys who make it exciting, the guys who raise to the top are the guys who deserve the money. The guys that you can have a fucking fight card where it happens, and this is what I tell these guys. You don't want to be the guy where like, yeah, we went to the fights on Saturday night and fucking Silva kicked the guy in the face and the fight was I don't know, a bunch of other fights too. I don't remember anybody's name or what fight happened. Be the fucking guy who stands out. If you're the guy that stands out, you're the guy that people want to see again. You're the guy that people want to spend money for. You're the guy that people want to buy tickets, pay-per-view, stay home on Saturday night. John Cholish is not that fucking guy and never will be. Okay? So now John Cholish is like, yeah, well, we didn't get paid enough. Oh, you didn't get paid enough. You know why you didn't get paid enough? Because you didn't fucking deserve it. That's why. How does that not make sense to anybody on this fucking planet?
Well, what do you think about a guy like Tim Kennedy coming in who hasn't even fought for the organization yet?
Well, and just to be fair, I was at the luncheon the other day. I was on vacation at my place in Maine. I barely got cell service. I had no fucking internet. So the guys were hitting me with a lot of questions that I didn't know this was going on. I didn't know about the term MMA. You told me something I didn't know today. He came out. The other thing that happens is a lot of these questions are loaded questions. You, the media, believe it or not, it's fucking weird. You guys ask loaded questions. First fucking question he asked today. Anderson Silva's here, all this shit's going on. Hey, Tim, what do you think about the stupid shit you said? Now your boss is standing 2 feet away from you. You guys will ask loaded questions. And if I asked you a loaded question, I know what your answer would be. Do every one of you make enough money? Kevin Iole does, apparently. Yeah, I asked Kevin Iole. He's making more money than he can possibly spend. The answer is fucking no. Anybody you ask if they're making enough money, the answer is no. Nobody's ever making enough money. Everybody needs more money and everybody wants to make more money.
Making enough money? Good answer.
Yeah, nobody's making enough money. If you ask anybody that question, And we live in, let's not forget we live in fucking America, okay? The land of opportunity. I feel like we're in this fucking country where the American dream is like going away. Nobody has the American dream anymore. I am living the fucking American dream. I got into this thing, got these guys to invest, looked like it was gonna happen, and now look at this fucking thing. And look at this place and what we're doing now. This is the shit you should be fucking dreaming about. And every guy down there, whether you're Tim Kennedy, John Cholish, fucking, whoever else said anything, Volkman, yeah. You should want to be fucking Anderson Silva. You should want to be, John Jones. You should aspire to be the best. But what happens is, one day, especially in sports, right? In any professional sport where you're an athlete, the day of reckoning comes where you either are that guy or you are not. But even if you are not, maybe you're still a guy like, look how long Sam Stout has been in the UFC. Sam Stout hasn't won any world titles. He's not talked about as one of the greatest fighters ever or one of the top contenders or any of that shit. Sam Stout is a fucking animal who comes out and loves to fight. And every time he fights, he puts on an amazing show. Joe Lozon. Joe Lozon is not seen as the top guy in the division. He's not a world champion. How many people went fucking crazy when I said Joe Lozon was on the card? Because people love to watch him fight. If you are those, and Joe Lozon has won more fighter bonuses than I think anybody. Okay, if you are that fucking guy, the system works for you, right? But if you are not that guy, and boo fucking who, you don't matter. And I'm sure that fucking sucks. And I'm sure it hurts. I'm sure you want to fucking stand up and scream from the fucking rooftops. I'm pissed, and this isn't fair, and this isn't right. This is fucking life, dude. Get ready. Because every day when you get out of bed, life is standing right there to kick you in the fucking face. And you better be ready to fucking do something about it, John Cholish or anybody else. Everybody doesn't win a fucking trophy.
Do you think fighters forget the sport's in 20 years old?
What?
Do you think fighters forget the sport's in 20 years old? 50 years, 80 years, obviously.
That too, but take that out of the equation, and that is true. We talked about this the other day. You know, Kevin, I wish Kevin was here today. Where's he? Kevin was like, well, you compare yourself to the NFL. And I said, Kevin, what I say is I want the UFC to be as big as the NFL or the biggest sport in the world, soccer, everything else. The NFL makes $8 or $9 billion in fucking television revenue. We are not the NFL. If you look at the numbers, we're more like Major League Soccer. But the fact is, we've only had this company for 13 years, but we've made tons of guys millions of dollars. You know? And I've read all the fucking articles where guys come out and say, oh, they've made them millionaires. A guy made $1 million, they're a millionaire. Yeah, fuckface. If you make $1 million fucking dollars, you're a fucking millionaire. Okay? How many people have the opportunity to go out right now in this market today and go make $1 million fucking dollars? How many people have that opportunity? We've only been here for 13 years. We didn't start making money till 2006, 2007. It's 2013. And when you look at the list of millionaires and the lives we've changed and the things we've done, yeah, I'm pretty fucking proud of it, and it's pretty fucking impressive. I mean, let's be real here. Had to ask me that question there, didn't she? She's so bored with it, she's like, all right, I'm fucking sick of listening to it.
Not everyone gets a trophy.
Why did I ask him this question?
But is there anything new with Boston as far as foreign fighters? Anything new on that?
As far as what?
The foreign fighters getting their security numbers.
Yeah, we got that whole situation figured out. You know, we had to make some changes here and there. You know, it was a speed bump we didn't expect, but you know. UFC what? Does UFC compare to what? Make enough money?
To the butts. Do you compare UFC to butts?
Oh, boxing? Boxing, okay. If I compare UFC to boxing, yeah, our fighters make a lot more money because our money is spread throughout the entire card. You have guys that are mid-tier, and I'm working on that right now. I'm working on a whole fucking spreadsheet. We're going through all this shit to fucking lay this thing out for dummies. There's a lot of fucking dummies out there. And we're going to lay it out for all the dummies.
Damn.
What are some of those
Other sports are filled with entitled prima donnas, including boxing. UFC from top to bottom, I'm talking Anderson Silva, Cain Velasquez, and so on, they don't seem to have that mentality. How do you manage to have a roster that seems to be so humble and just very approachable as opposed to these other sports?
Well, first of all, that's the demeanor of the guys in the sport. Second of all, it's the way the company is run too. This isn't that type of sport, and as long as I'm here, it will never be that type of sport. At least the UFC. So look at the Fan Expo this weekend. I mean, we flew in more fighters than we ever have. People are going to be hanging at pools with the fighters, hanging at the Legacy. There's a free concert. All the fighters will be at the concert. And then the Expo, it's part of the culture here. I love it.
So this is why the UFC is the fastest growing sport in the world.
I don't know if that's why. I think it's a combination of a lot of things, but it doesn't hurt. It doesn't hurt that the UFC is so accessible and the guys are such really good people.
What would you ask me? So what are some of those, all of those changes that you've done on that card?
Well, yeah, I mean, all the stuff that changed, you guys already know anyway. My Canadian guy, Nick Ring, we had to switch that fight out. We couldn't get him into Boston, and then the other guys, we had to switch a few things and do a lot of work in getting these guys the proper documentation and social security numbers that they needed down there, but we got it done.
Is that the most, I say, draconian, but is there kind of a state like that where you have to do this kind of temporary?
No. And I think it was a law. It's a law there. That was kind of like.
It was a law last time. Right?
It was very loosey-goosey until the Boston thing happened, and now they're really cracking down on it. Understandably, when things happen like that, people get scared, and
What impact will it have future investment in Boston? Does it matter going through this process?
Well, it wouldn't matter if you knew it up front. If you knew that ahead of time, it's not a problem.
The big guys are saying that you guys didn't know.
Give a shit what they say. We didn't know. You know what I mean? If we knew I mean, you guys have been dealing with this company for years. Are we unorganized? Do we not do things the right way? We do everything the right way. If you look at all the things that we pull off in other countries, we put on fights and we do business in countries all over the world. You know how much fucking work and time and energy goes into that thing? If we knew that that was the case, we would have fixed it. I don't care what they say.
I'm just saying.
They're wrong. I don't care.
I just want to add this point. They're saying that this law was on the books all the time. Now, what I didn't understand, if it was, they didn't enforce it before, if that's the case. Now they choose to enforce it. When you go back to, do you go back and not knowing how?
I just answered that question. I said before it was a law, but it was like you know what I mean? After the bombing happened, they're hardcore now, and they're enforcing that law. And I'm sure they're going to say, listen, it was a fucking law, and it was not enforced last time we were there. So you're damn right they're going to say, oh, hey, yeah, I know about this shit. You know what I mean? But if I knew about it, I would have. I don't know the case. I don't know if this is a fact or not, because I really don't give a shit. We got it all fixed. Did everybody have their social security number the last fight we did in Boston? I don't know the answer to that question, but it's probably no. You know what I mean? They're like, they knew this law. We didn't know the law. We don't break the fucking law. We don't go around. We could go to New York tomorrow and do a fight. Tomorrow we can do a fight in New York. We can do it in the Indian reservation, and we can do it in a couple other sneaky ways. We would never do that. We do everything by the book. So I understand people have to cover their ass. They're full of shit.
In a way, comparable to that interesting situation I was talking about, where in the Canadian legal or the Canadian legislature, there was actually no provision for professional mixed martial arts to take place in Canada. If it had been expunged in court, there could have been a problem with it, but he's got that now added into the last 2 or 3 years into the Canadian legislature. Those are the kind of things that we're up against.
Yeah, and people don't realize, you know, I'm telling you guys, people don't realize the fight that we fight every day, you know? And if it's not hard enough just growing your business here in the United States, we're doing it all over the world with all kinds of different laws and rules and opposition and lobbying and, you know, the list goes on and on and on. And people don't realize how much work we really put into this and what we do every day.
So its first 12 events could have been unlawful.
Right. There's a ton of places that we could have gone, and like I said, snuck around the system and been sneaky about it and done it, but we would never do that. Oh yeah.
Territories and they won't react to the UFC and MMA like they do now when you're old and grey.
Yeah, well, hopefully sooner than that. You know, as we continue to run over 1 billion homes on television worldwide, and it's about the next generation. As these generations keep growing up with UFC on television, going to live events, you know, with professional athletes all over the world idolizing mixed martial artists, and the list goes on and on. Those are the people who will eventually run the world someday. It's like UFC. I grew up watching that stuff. It's not scary like it used to be. I mean, even now, the people that I deal with today, as opposed to the people I dealt with, you know, 15 years ago, it's night and day. Nah, I never got to that point. What I say, I wasn't nervous. Yeah, I was nervous. I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Is this worth it? But all the stuff that's going on that Fox had planned, it would have sucked to take it out of Boston. Patriots play Friday night on Fox. Red Sox Yankees play Saturday on Fox, and it's all going on in Boston. It would have sucked to leave Boston, but we would have done it if we had to.
Just to take it back to Silva versus White for a second, and talk to you guys over fight nights. Do you think ring rust is a serious thing? Do you believe in ring rust? Do you think that can affect Weidman? Do you think they'll be nervous coming out? And they
I'm a huge believer in ring rust, and I believe in the fact that it's your first you're on the big stage for the first time. He seems to be handling it very well. Stare down was good. I mean, I look at all kinds of things that lead up. Stare down today was, and then the other big question is the day of the weigh-ins. What's his weight? How's he look? How's that stare down go down? You know, all that stuff factors into how a guy feels and how he's dealing with the pressures of fighting not only his first title fight, but fighting Anderson Silva.
So far, you're not worried about Weidman?
Weidman looks pretty cool, man. It looks smooth. We'll see. There you go. Great stare down. I love stare downs, man. That's where you can see where everybody's at. Good. Oliveira and Frankie were good too.
Has Silva ever handed the belt to his opponent? Was that gamesmanship? Was he being nice?
That's the way he is. He is a very respectful, you know, and if you're respectful with him, like he doesn't take the fact that Chris Weidman believes he can beat him as disrespect. You know, that's how every fighter should feel. It's when you start talking stuff, you know, outside of the fight that he feels disrespected. I can tell there's a lot of respect between these two.
When you're on the way to the arena on the night and Silva's fighting, does it feel different?
Oh yeah, I love it, man. Yeah, I love it.
Does it run through your mind like this could be the night that you finally see the guy lose?
No, every time it's not that when he fights, it's like, oh, this could be the night to lose. It's like when he fights, I'm like, oh shit, something crazy is gonna happen here, you know? Because he really does do. If you look at, you know, the Vitor kick, right? When he did the Vitor, when Bonner throws that spinning back kick, he steps to the side and then steps back in. Put his hands down, was letting him hit him. I mean, the shit that this guy does. There's always something. At that time when he fought, when he spun his foot behind, kicked behind his leg and kicked his foot out. Remember that? It wasn't Maya. Yeah, exactly. That one too. He caught the kick and then blasted Irving and knocked him out. Yeah, Forrest Griffin, the slipping, the 3 punches of Forrest Griffin and then knocking him out.
The knee into Chael's chest.
Knee into Chael's chest. And the list goes on and on. Pulling Chael Sonnen, you know, getting him in a triangle with a minute something left to the fight that he is clearly losing big on every scorecard in every round.
Do you see him as I was talking to Frank about this yesterday, like Pacquiao would put himself against the ropes and let the guy hit him almost to put himself in a bad spot?
Well, how about when everybody said he had no ground game and he submitted Travis Lutter? You know what I mean? And then Dan Henderson, he knocks Dan Henderson down and submits Henderson. People don't give him credit for that. Dan Henderson, look at the fights he's fought in the wars and the tough people and everything else. Dan Henderson always goes to decision. Nobody finishes Dan Henderson. Fucking finished him in the second round. And I mean, the guy is amazing. And yeah, I think that your question about Pacquiao, I think every time this guy goes out there, he has some new, crazy, weird way to try to challenge himself. You know, and just kind of play with things, and you know how confident you got to be in your fucking abilities and your chin and your skills and your age and all that shit. How just absolutely, positively fucking badass you have to be to go out and do the things that this guy does. Huh? Yeah. Well, you don't see that in John Jones yet. John Jones will throw his spinning elbows and does amazing things that other people don't do. Like when he was hitting Rashad with those elbows, like he was throwing punches and stuff like that. Anderson does like next levels. I told you guys this once before. I flew home on the plane with Stephan Bonner. His wife was having a baby. He was so fucked up. And I'm not just talking like beat up from the fight, but just like that another human being just did that to him. He's like, that guy lives in the Matrix. I've been fighting my whole, nobody's ever done that to me. You know what I mean? What he does to other fighters, it's crazy.
Dana, do you think that Roy Nelson limits his MMA potential in the UFC by fighting, some would say, out of his natural weight class?
Guy was on a 12-fight win streak by knockout in the UFC. I mean, he's a heavyweight. He's a heavyweight. You know, my thing is it's not as much fighting out of his weight classes. If he really took himself serious and lost some weight and got in great shape, what would Roy Nelson be able to accomplish? You know, maybe he would get over that number 4 or 5 hump in the rankings. You know what I mean? Because when you get to the top 4 guys in the world, dealing with the 4 nastiest dudes on earth.
Do you think he has that potential skill-wise?
He absolutely does. He's a great wrestler. He's got heavy hands, and he's got an unbelievable fucking chin and great jiu-jitsu. He's as well-rounded as you can get. And he's as well-rounded as you can get. Thank you. You too, brother. No. Oh, got it. All right.
250-year-old British humor. Nothing short like that.
Yeah. We don't hate the English like the English hate us, so I don't even think like that. We don't think like that. Don't think about that. Cool. Thank you guys. Be safe. Have fun, you guys.